Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier, where we're ready to get into our second series of the day, Maryville taking on AOE Ginger Turmeric. I'm Travis D. If you're just now joining us, I also have my very special award-winning guest analyst, RMC, and also the ever so phenomenal Mike Young. Are y'all ready to get into another fantastic series?
Most definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing Maryville play after so many years. Always seeing them in Proving Grounds. It's always exciting to see every roster.
Hey, look, this is going to be a fun one too because we have Maryville, right? The collegiate team that has come in and has been a mainstay inside of amateur, but we also got AOE GT, who has absolutely just been so chaotic, I think is the best word to be able to use to describe them. RMC, tell me a little bit about AOE GT.
I mean, their name is a bunch of spices, and they live up to it. They're the spiciest team here that we have in PGCQ. I mean, if you're a fan of them, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They do all sorts of crazy things. Their drafts are often very different from everyone else here, and I love that about them. I think it was Smacks who once said, that this team can be anywhere from number 1 to number 25 on any given day. And 100%, that's AGT. This team is the only team that has beaten 100 Thieves Nicks in the open qualifiers ever, and that is absolutely insane. So yeah, that shows the heights that they can get to. But on the other hand, they've struggled a lot in the group stages, which is not what you'd expect to see necessarily from them. So there's a lot of variability with this team.
Availability versus the stability that Maryville comes to present, and here we are. We see these rosters go up in the head-to-head, and Mike, I'm going to throw this over to you. One of the names that sticks out to me immediately is Iconic, coming back into the fold of Maryville after being away in Golden Guardians camp.
Yeah, I've always known Iconic to be a very smart player, and on top of that, he has really great lanes with high mechanical skill ceilings in the solo lanes. So I'm excited to see how they play around that to get a huge lead. And then not only that, but because APA is more of a rookie, pairing up with an experienced jungler like Iconic, I like to see how they pair up with the mid-jungle synergy and how he can play more of like the sportive style champions while APA can play one of the more aggressive style. And we've seen APA pop off with like those signature fed games of his as well.
Yeah, highest kills in a single game at 19 kills right now in PGCQ. That record belongs to APA. We heard it from Sword that he lost his top spot to APA in solo queue. And Niles as well. I feel like we talk about Iconic, going up to Golden Guardians, back now with Maryville. Well, he did that with Niles. Niles went up the same year. They've played together in the LCS in Academy. Actually, I'm not sure if they played together in Academy, but they played together in LCS, and now they're back together on Maryville once again reunited.
Yeah, and it's time for us to go ahead and take a moment to sit back and check out what the predictions are looking like for the day, see how the casters were calling for the games, and we're just going to take a couple people, two in particular, are going for AOE Ginger Turmeric.
Okay. Well, we knew that Smacks already said that they could be number 1, so I guess he's doubling down on that. I am glad that Rude has gone for AGT as well, so it's not all Maryville sided.
No wall of Maryville there, but on my analyst desk, I'm kind of curious. What is our predictions looking like? Mike Young, I'm going to start with you. What are you feeling the matchups looking like?
I say 2-0 Maryville, just because they've always been on the top of the standings. They've always been able to compete with tournament favorites. Like as you said, they did very well against 100x Next. And also, like previous years, their track record has always been very close top 3. So I'm going to give it to them, and I'm going to give it 2-0 because they're a very good team consistently as well.
Okay, RMC, are you on the same boat? Are you valuing the consistency, or do you like the volatility?
So rather than predictions, this is more my hopes. I actually do think prediction-wise, Maryville is probably going to sweep this one. But
Okay.
but my heart believes in AGT, in AOE here. You know what? AGT devs, I love volatility. I've said it before when they played against, I believe it was Fear. I favor volatility. I think it's more fun to watch. So I'm cheering on AGT. And I just realized watching that interview as well earlier, Travesty, I said I'd cheer on Maryville.
Oh no! Well,
No, I'll cheer you on in Twitch.
you get on your alt. It's fine. It's fine. You'll be fine. Everybody has an alt. It's all good. It's all good. But for me, I'm with Mike Youngo in this one. Even though AOE GT might be fun to watch, you know, Maryville, they got that consistency. They got that factor. Iconic Niles is the old school duo that used to run things. So I'm kind of with that. But we got a duo that likes to run things of their own. We got our casters waiting to take us into this series. So Desert, Rudu, take it on away.
How dare you go ahead and backstab someone you already interviewed? What are you doing there, RMC? But welcome to the casting desk, and of course our matchup, Maryville University versus Ginger Turmeric. This matchup right now, both of these teams, they've taken games off 100 Thieves' necks. It's a little bit of a wild, you know, almost difference in styles, as we have what we were kind of joking about as being the lawful good versus the chaotic evil, Rude.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly merits to both arguments. I think that with Maryville, they are this very structured, very well-infrastructured team as well. I think our draft is actually starting, so we could get that up as well if necessary. But we've got, like you say, the AGT side of the coin then, on that case, being a little bit more chaotic, a little bit less one-dimensional in their play. I think that, to say one-dimensional, that's a bit of a discredit to Maryville, but they are, as AGT, as far as AGT goes, a team that like to play a lot of their individual skill, utilize their own power, and really play to their own sets of advantages.
Now, for Maryville University, this is a very, very hard team for Ginger Turmeric to have to face off against, especially at this point in their career. Maryville University, they didn't do that well in CLOL. They didn't do that well at the later half of Proving Grounds. Circuit Qualifiers #1 in the summer, but now they're looking better. They've had time to practice on this patch. They've had time to get all their pieces to click together, and they've been swinging for the fences. You know, they've already taken Gateway Legends, which was earlier, against UST on top of that, getting a little bit of vengeance on that, and have just been taking clean sweeps back to back to back here in the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifiers #2.
Of course, with all of that prestige, that pedigree, it did show on the desk. The 2 zeros were coming through in fair amounts of force outside of the shameful RMC. But the draft now, of course, underway. Fully ready, fully banned out already as well in these early stages. Something that hadn't happened against AGT for numerous matches was a Udyr ban. Maryville, first ban they get, they take it away. And actually, this Ashe first pick, you may be thinking, if you've missed a couple of League of Legends splits, or not even splits, a couple of patches, oh, Ashe ADC, that seems like a really interesting B1. I wonder why they've done that. This is an Ashe ADC. Oh, no. This is going to be Ashe support, and very likely paired with a Misfortune.
Yeah, Ashe support, Misfortune, seen that combo to go together. Dean was proposing the question of who is really the marksman of this one. Is it going to be the MF? Is it going to be the Ashe? You know, MF is going to be the case here, but it's against a very, very fierce lane in the matchup of Callista and Renata getting locked in by Maryville University.
Has its own skirmishing for 2v2, obviously throwing the Renata in, not the best way to keep her alive necessarily, but they look like this little pivot. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go into something different. I think this is the option that first picking Ashe gives you. They pivot. They don't go for the Ashe Misfortune. They go instead straight into Ashe Zyra, a very devastating 2 versus 2, something that we have not seen for a very long time. And this is also very smart because one of the traditional counters to the Zyra is the Misfortune, because her passive that gets rid of those plants very quickly. They've already seen Maryville have locked in their bot lane. Callista and the Renata, not typically flex picks. We could, out of very thinly veiled possibility, see Niles take this Callista into the top lane. But this is not going to happen. They take the blind north for themselves, and this is now going to be a convincingly good matchup on the bot side for AGT.
This is why we kind of frame this as chaotic versus lawful, Maryville being the more lawful of the group. But Ginger Turmeric, Ashe Zyra, this has been a while. There's a lot of presence, there's a lot of zone control, paired alongside the Wukong on top of that. A little feisty right here, already starting it off with the chaos.
I haven't seen Zyra in competitive play in a fair while, somewhere in a far-off land. Law from the LEC is absolutely loving life, but got to credit as well that AGT have already picked themselves up a very good team fighting composition. We've got the Cyclone, we've got the Stranglethorns from the Zyra, the ultimate, coming through that can do fairly significant amount of work in the team fights. Now, Maryville themselves also have those very strong team fight tools in the Fates Call, in the Hostile Takeover, in the Gnar.
Alright, so as we head into the second phase, Bel'Veth, Xerath, Silas, Camille, all going to be taken off the table. We have our bot lanes already shown, hence why Ginger Turmeric felt so confident going after that Zyra. Jungle picked up for AGT. Still need the jungle for Maryville University, and they're going to go for one of the ganking machines when it comes to tanks. That is going to be Zach.
Do not pick in a mobile mid laner. That is what I have to say to you right now. This is obviously a very difficult position for Shrimps to be in, because it's a very easy to get ganked by Zac, and mid lane tends to be Zac's home just because of how many angles you have. The one caveat, I suppose, to not picking a mobile mid laner is pick something that can stop a Zac from jumping on you. And actually, Syndra, one of the few mid laners that has a way of doing that. It means that he can not particularly play too aggressive through the laning phase. Does open up for a fairly easy lane for APA, because if you can ever bait out that Scatter the Weak, it opens up a gank angle for Iconic when that E is down and makes it a lot easier. But of course, we'll have to keep our eyes, keep on tracking how well that mid lane interaction goes with this Victor locked in. Malphite's around our AGT's composition, and this is, to all intents and purposes, say Desterux, just an absolute death ball on both sides.
Yeah. I'm expecting to see a lot of bloodshed onto this one. I mean, even in the early stages, we've talked about how Kalista Renata works. They want to fight early. They want to go ahead and take that early wave engagement and just straight up take the kills from there. They need a strong gold lead, right? Zac is a great enabler for any lane you put him into. You could ward there, you could ward here, you could ward here, but did you forget the other 5 angles he can gank from? So much for Maryville University.
Now, it is also interesting to remember that picking Kalista specifically into an Ashe is not what we tend to see. Ashe is typically the counter pick to the Kalista. Every auto attack from Ashe slows, and slows also slow the DPS of a Kalista because it stops her auto attack speed, stops you from jumping around, getting that martial poise fully unleashed. So it is good to see Deep Learn happy to pull this Ashe out, not necessarily leaving it to Duo King's hands necessarily. And I think that down on this bot side in particular, we need to see where the vision is placed at level 1, because getting into those brushes before the wave spawn, getting a hold of that wave and controlling how you're going to play out that lane is something that is very important. It's also worth remembering that the Zac, whilst we mention, is a very proactive ganker, very scary, needs a couple of levels in that elastic slingshot. It's not level 3, boom, you're online. 3 points into the E. Level 5 is when I tend to say, okay, that slingshot, it's got range now to start doing work.
Now, with that slingshot, you can get a good pick there, but when I'm talking pick, I'm looking at Ginger Turmeric. With everything they've brought here, there's so much pick potential, there's so much sudden engage. Can they make it work against Maryville University? We're going to find out right now, as we are ready to head into the Rift. Maryville University versus AOE Ginger Turmeric. A lot on the line with this one, Root Dude. We've had 4 teams that are kind of around that same area, but a loser here is pretty much sent to the gulag.
Exactly. It's not pretty much Desterux, you hit the nail on the head. They are indeed sent to the gulag. It's worth remembering that there are stakes, of course, for these games. They're all playing for a spot in Proving Grounds, and for the loser, they are confirmed in the bottom half, or the bottom 4 of the 10 teams that get sent to Proving Grounds. The winner is not guaranteed a spot in that top 10, but or in that top 6, but is much more likely if they find a win here.
Maryville University already starting off with the cheeky 5 stack towards this bottom lane. And as I said, it was a rough earlier start to the circuit qualifiers, to the middle end of the summer split for Maryville University. This bounce back has been absolutely phenomenal. A lot of this has been on APA. I think he's shown up this year more so than any year before. His laning stats have been on fire. The amount of damage he's able to bring to this team, to team fights, has been phenomenal. He's been a standout in Maryville, in my opinion.
Leading the league, the tournament right now for total kills, top 3 for damage share as well. I believe he is really putting up numbers in every meaningful way for Maryville this game, this split, this tournament. And a good, again, little highlight of quite what we get to see from this early game from Iconic in particular. He's going to be starting on that red buff, with Keel starting on the Wolves, in fact, so he's going to be getting to his buffs just a little bit later. Both of our junglers going to be heading toward this bot side. Now, early game lane control was something that we touched on for this bot lane. Looks like Deep Lane and Duo King got into the lane a little bit faster, but this wave is certainly being fought for. Ashe and Zyra, though, gonna have control. This means that they do need to be careful. This opens them up to that early gank window that the Zac is going to be looking for if they keep on perma-pushing under this wave. But so far, making sure that the Kalista Renata isn't completely unchecked.
Big for Deep Learn and Duo King, who have had okay laning stats this far in this season. It's a lane you do want to challenge. Azog has absorbed a lot of pressure that's been applied to him before, but Azog hasn't exactly been the biggest playmaker, right? Zyko is the playmaker out of the two, especially when he's able to get a lot of presence coming out from Iconic. Deep Learn and Duo King, it's a dangerous lane to play in, but they are a pair that can try and test Azog and Zyko in this early stage.
And I think that this could not have been a better 2v2 for us to comment on the bot lane here for AGT. As we do see Niles taking a very good trade up against Moose Hater as he hops back into the mini form real quick. And Captain Shrimp's actually potentially spotting out Iconic. And, okay, you know what favourite movie Saw 2? I feel like this we are getting everything that encapsulates AGT in terms of that chaotic evil.
Saw 2, yeah. Yeah, chaotic evil, there is no better way to put it. If you want to be the bad guys, I guess that's the way you want to play. You want to play a game. The game is League of Legends. Who's going to escape alive, Rude Dude?
What are we watching? What is this?
This is Saw 2. Saw 3.
Hey, that was a bit of a horror movie. Niles has just used the TP to go to the tier 2, I guess expecting something a little bit more aggressive than AGT were necessarily going for. And now that gives Moose Hater a fairly sizable advantage, actually, as he's going to be able to push in this top wave, get that fully crashed under the turret. Won't have to expend his teleport to get back to the lane in time. It's going to slowly push back out from his lane, meaning his lane's going to be in a great position. This is, you know, one of those small things that may not look too big, but it's actually going to give a big advantage to the top lane.
Significant over onto that top side. Moose Hater was one of the big stars in the game that was played out yesterday for Ginger Turmeric. So being able to net that lead against Niles, especially in a lane that is going to have a lot of pressure because Niles and Iconic have so much experience together. They did play on Golden Guardians together. They should have that pre-established synergy. Moose Hater getting a little bit of a lead there.
Of course, the Malphite versus Gnar matchup, it's not tremendously disappointing. If Niles, you know, falls behind a little bit, the notion of the Gnar versus Malphite is that he'll be able to quite easily generate a lead back for himself. It probably more so means that Moose Hater can take a bit of a dodgy trade, have a bit of a torrid time with things for a little bit before he can teleport back and offset some of the bad trading that comes from being the Malphite into the Gnar matchup. But goes back to base, picks himself up a Dark Seal for a slightly better poke from his Seismic Shards, but the D-Shield from Niles is going to do the majority of the work at trying to offset all of that damage.
Now we're getting an invade coming out from Kill around the time where Iconic's going for his Raptors, so he should be able to spot out a little bit of jungle pathing here. And this is oh so crucial. You need to know where Iconic is. Zac ganks. He just ganks. He finds any angle to gank. Kill trying to keep on top of this Tracky.
He ganks and he engages. Now, through the early stages, we're expecting it to be the former. The later game stages, we're expecting it to be the latter, where we're looking for engages at any time that Maryville deem appropriate. And we can get to that as well a little bit later, when those engagements do tend to look a little bit more favourable. Niles, though, on his own little invade Keel, not got any cooldowns because he used them on the Gromp, and no smite available.
That's the most tragic part. No smite, so Niles could realistically just steal this away, and he does. He does. Kill gets denied his Gromp. But will Niles be denied his life? Captain Shrimp's right place, but doesn't get in time to stop the blast plant. Now, Captain Shrimp showing up looking to finish off the job before the Mega Gnar can be activated. First Blood going over to AOE Ginger Turmeric.
You got a Gromp, but you lose your life. The trade on the bot side is two camps going the way of Iconic. He steals away the Raptors instead of just the two camps, instead just the one, in fact. Not sure if that was worth Keel's flash, but Captain Shrimp saves the ulti. It means that there's a window of opportunity for him to sustain mid-pressure up against APA for the mid lane matchup. But nevertheless, an overextension by Niles into that topside jungle as AOE Ginger Turmeric make the most of it. They're not going to be able to trade a Rift Herald for this dragon, it's important to note, which means that Maryville University may well be able to get the 2-piece.
I really like the focus from Maryville University to try and starve out Keel early. You saw that it was a great invade to come out from Niles to steal away that Gromp. At the same time, Iconic was going deep onto stealing the bot lane camps out of Keel. It's going to make it longer and harder for him to get towards that level 6 and be that team fighting presence. Take a look at the favorite movie of Niles, and that is Interstellar.
Now, I have a bone to pick with him for this one, because he is playing Gnar. And I'm not sure which Gnar skin that is. It's either Snow Day or Astronaut, but if it's not Astronaut, then something's wrong.
How's it his favorite movie? How can he actually claim that it's his favorite movie? He's not properly using that skin route, dude.
Exactly. If you're not using Snow Day, excuse me. If you're not using Astronaut Gnar, then there's something wrong. Well, I think he is, so it's all good.
Hear me out on this one. Maybe it's his favorite movie because you know the isolation of top lane is kind of like the loneliness of space.
Oh, yeah. That's true. But Interstellar's not about. Well, I guess it's about finding. There's people in Interstellar that are together, you know.
Fair. Eventually, you got to come to the late game team fight phase, you know.
True. Maybe you know what? I think you've hit the nail on the head.
I might have, because I know Niles has very low kill participation in relative to all the other top laners up here, so we're really dialing down this point.
Do you remember? It was I believe it was Maryville versus EGP. He TP'd to the top lane when it was at his tier 2 top. He TP'd to his tier 2 top lane and then backdoored the enemy's Nexus off the same push. Like, he was not with his team the entire game. He was just vibing, soloing, managed to get the win. But now there's a Herald, and this is where Zax's engages could be huge.
Yeah, Iconic goes far for Keel, but only catches the clone. Leash coming out for Niles to start up the Rift Herald, as he will be that front line. Too much of a threat with that Magnar form for Keel and Moose Hater to try and go for the engage. But now Captain Shrimp's trying to find the collapse, going after APA. A great ultimate to be found from Moose Hater. Gets a knock-up and a kill for Turmeric. But Kill will be finding another one on top of it. They're not going down just yet. They're going to take Maryville down instead. And as Iconic goes to that blob form, he can only hope and pray for up early for Ginger Turmeric.
Oh, and it's like a ticking clock. Moose Hater, perfectly timed engage. The second Niles falls out of Magnar form, they engage. They knock up the 2 squishy members. APA gets all but one shot. Niles taken out as well, not able to use the Gnar. And like I say, this is just beautiful timing from AGT. Their engagement at such a great time. The Herald goes the way of Maryville. But look at it, the second Niles drops down, boom. Moose Hater inbound, finds both of the squishy targets. APA somehow survives all of the onslaught for a little bit long enough to get down his ulti, which I was, not expecting to be the case. But they're able to get just enough kills, just enough Triumph procs for Keel. He dings over to level 6, which is actually the difference maker to allow them to find Iconic as well. And a big 3v3 in the top side for AGT amounts them a big advantage.
And I want to point out why this is going to be a rough situation for APA when it comes to the squads actually coming together. In that last one, you can tell APA was keeping a close eye on Captain Shrimps. He wanted to flash to scatter the weak, but there are so many engaged tools for Ginger Turmeric. He gets caught by the unstoppable force and still gets scattered on top of it. So there's so much APA has to watch out. He didn't even get a chance to burn his flash onto that last one. But on the plus side, at least he has it available later for this dragon that will be spawning in 120.
Exactly. It was one of those where you say, oh, why is APA dying with flash up? He could have flashed anywhere, he would have still died. Moose Hater had a heat-seeking missile ready with his ulti. He was like, Victor, are you going to flash? If you are, I'm ready. And, just times it perfectly. The only way you really get away from it is if you flash the Malphite ult, but where there's such short a distance between the two of you, it's so darn difficult to get that reaction time down. And no discredit to APA for not quite being there. Of course, with this lead now, though, AOE Ginger Turmeric, I want to see them push through this mid lane. Captain Shrimp's being given, 3 kills in the early stages. It's kind of terrifying, honestly, if you are Maryville. Syndra is a champion that has fallen a little bit out of favor when durability patch came through, but I think that for specifically NA Amateur has actually started to rise up a little bit as well in terms of how well and how frequently we see her get picked. So maybe Captain Shrimps can push a little bit further, punish a little bit harder with this new return to the mid lane.
It's a prominent pick champion, and speaking of picks, trying to find one of his own will be
Half the
Iconic
damage.
with the gank into the top lane. Now, this is a beefy boy, a lot of damage you got to get through. Unstoppable Force will get Moose Hater to disengage. He will be fine. A lot committed over there. That was the Let's Bounce Meganar ultimate. We'll send Moose Hater back home. You will have to walk back into lane, which is going to be the painful part right there. Will not have his
Look
teleport.
at this trade as well.
Oh,
Azog on the bot side, he's lamb for the slaughter right now. Nobody here to support him. He should just fall. Flash and heal available, or Flash and cleanse available. They could go Zyko though.
Ooh, a great pick coming out from Captain Shrimps is going to result in the Cyclone following through. Hostile takeover used onto absolutely nothing. Zyko's going to fall. Out comes the Stranglethorns. No knock-up. Throwing Zyko right back in as a human cannonball. Kill given over, but the play continued for Ginger Turmeric. Trying to get the outplay is going to be Azog. He's been able to do a lot of big plays in these high-pressure situations, and he's still going to live the tower dive. Now Kill is the one in no man's land, getting pulled right back in. Kill trying to hop onto Azog, but that was your final dash use, your final chance to catch him. Will go down, APA nets the kill.
I like the little play there, pretending like you've got the clone, but a 1-for-1 overall, I believe. AOE Ginger Turmeric fumbling the bag a little bit on that bot lane dive. Captain Shrimps using the scatter a little haphazardly there, actually tries to set up for just a Q into scatter. What you can do on Syndra is go for just the Q into ulti and then shotgun stun. When you have 3-4 balls on the floor, it makes flashing it much more difficult. And actually overall on the play, Azog the grand beneficiary, because he lives, gets an assist, and gets a load of plates out from that bot side. Maryville going to be able to transition this into a dragon as well. And off of a play that AOE Ginger Turmeric started, it's Maryville that come out the beneficiaries of. They should not have had this, but a little bit of a fumble grants them the advantage.
We're starting to get into the Azog comfort zone now. You're getting out of lane. Looking at the situation, I mean, for the most part, you've survived a lot of what Ginger Turmeric has thrown at you into this bottom lane, especially in this last play where he was able to dance around the turret.
And the fact that Zyko is able to live for so long inside Azog is actually what saves this play, it feels like. He's able to stay inside for so darn long and then gets a 3-man knock-up, which stalls the dive. It stalls it for about 2 seconds, which is actually just long enough for them to posture to think about how they're going to go about it. And Niles with a great flash dodges out on the scatter and the Nimbus strike from Keel, even able to get away from the Wukong on the top side of the fight was something I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And you talked about it being a high-pressure situation, Destrux. The fact that all 3 of those AGT members lived on the bot side of that fight, that gave me high blood pressure situation. But nevertheless, a trade in a 1-for-1.
Yeah, Azog has always handled those so well. We saw it last time on the last game that Maryville did play. What it really came down to was APA and Zyko, Iconic on top of that, facilitating, making a lot of plays, and Azog just reaping the benefits of those plays. Once he's able to get to that mid-game stage, he positions beautifully. He knows exactly where to be the most effective DPS that he can be to win a lot of these mid-game skirmishes for Maryville University. So you got to keep a close eye on him because we're heading towards those spicy points.
Immortal Shield both finished for the Callista. No reciprocal mythic item for deep lane just yet. Moose Hater on this top side is actually one of the more fed members of this AGT squad. Has obviously not TP'd down to the bot lane quite like Niles has twice, and the fact that he's not got this turret, probably a proxy of playing Malphite more so than anything else. You'd say that any other top laner, with the amount of free time they've had with a turret, likely to have been able to take that one for themselves. But this is a good point to address, Desterux, that going later into this game, the tank killing capabilities of Maryville are pretty much exclusive to APA. He's built up this Liandry's. He's building, probably toward a Void Staff fairly soon also, because Callista's not a damage threat that really challenges a Malphite. You've got the E as well from Malphite. It's such a good pick into the Callista specifically that if Moose Hater ever gets onto the Callista or onto the Victor, these teamfights do get a lot harder for Maryville.
And if you miss Unstoppable Force and Zyko flashes it, what does Kill do? He hops in. Cyclone. Yeah, you dodge one tool.
There's a lot of follow-up, but also
Here's plan B.
you
Here's
have
plan
things
C.
like Enchanted Crystal Arrow as well, so that you can
Plan
burn
B.
that flash early.
Yeah, we got plans A through Z set up for Ginger Turmeric. Azog will have to put on the fancy feet as the play is going to be called for Turmeric. Go after the Rift Herald right here, and this should be easy takings right now. The focus, though, for Maryville University is keep Azog down there. He already cashed in on a tower. all by his lonesome, getting a good influx of gold, which he definitely desperately needs as we are ending the laning phase now.
Yeah, and you know, for the most part, it's kind of been sacrifice top side for sacrifice bot side, it feels like. Shrimps, he's too far forward.
Yep. Creative jungle pathing is what Zach does, and Shrimps could not ward out that one. A shutdown picked up by Iconic, but in the mid lane, all the gold was put onto Shrimps, so high value for Maryville.
That's a really big shutdown, like you mentioned. It doesn't go quite into the pocket that they'd have liked it to. I feel like if Niles picks that one up, they're a little bit happier, but nevertheless, getting the shutdown, taking Captain Shrimps off the map is certainly something that is going to be quite nice for them. And something that I want to address as well is this, you know, Ashe Zyra bot lane. We talked about it and associated it with pure dominance, and unfortunately, it hasn't really had that same impact. We saw the one attempted bot lane fight that was about all that AGT have focused down to this bot side, and Deep Lane and Duo King, outside of that, haven't been able to particularly generate their own advantages. They've got even enough, you know, fairly even in that farm department, the Kalista a little bit ahead in experience. But the Zyra now really going to start to struggle because essentially at this point, she's simply a mage. She's simply utility, doesn't offer too much for the team specifically. And now we get to kind of see what Duo King can do with this pocket pick, because you have to be near flawless. Otherwise, you are simply a level 8 behind mage who's not really doing that much.
Azog, we just said how he handles pressure well. Talking about that Zyra, last play they made in the bot lane, I don't know if you saw it, but the root was just a centimeter away from hitting Azog. He's so good at responding to that pressure, and Duo King, he needs to land this, because if he can get that to land, if anyone else in Ginger Turmeric can find that land, the follow-up is nasty. There's so much crowd control that can be layered on to Azog to take him out. Same thing with APA. Maryville will have to respect this going forward, trying to make sure that you are the one to get the engage. Iconic trying to force one onto Moose Hater as the dragon started by Turmeric.
Okay, Leandri's on APA. He's zoning out Moose Hater. Arrow hits the tank. Drake falls. It is AGT that pick it up. Can they get more from a fight?
Scatter the Weak goes out. Hostile takeover used. Only lands onto 2 as the unstoppable force onto the back line. But Azog still positioning well here. Kill having a hard time finding the picks. But here comes Niles as he'll drop the ultimate onto Ginger Turmeric. But is it enough to win Maryville? The fight answer is going to be a big yes as they clean out 2 back-to-back off the ultimate of Niles.
3 for 1. Yes, the Zac falls, but Maryville come up huge in the back end of the fight. APA able to follow up on a huge engage from Niles. And a great flash from Deep Lane, it is worth giving credit to, is the reason that they don't completely take down the bot side of AOE Ginger Turmeric. Maryville going to push one step further, take this bot lane tier 2 turret off the back of that as well. And overall, it was a little bit scary because we saw AOE GTC ready to go. They were on the prowl, they were searching for that fight, but a TP down into that bot side from Niles. Good initial poke from APA meant that the front line of Moose Hater wasn't quite enough. And Maryville, they come up back big in the team fight, put themselves back out in front in that gold department.
Strong, composed, it is Maryville University. I mean, with the way this squad has worked together, Jensen Go has done such a fantastic job of coaching this squad. Putting together plans, putting together whatever he can to make sure that they're keeping on top of schoolwork, keeping on top of their practice. You know, there's a reason why Maryville is such a contender, not only in the collegiate space, but in the amateur space. And this fight that they're bringing right now, coming back from that early lead that Ginger Turmeric were able to garner in the mid lane, is showing exactly why.
And it's no secret as well, Maryville were... Their goals were focused around collegiate LoL. They were focused to try and win C-LoL as best as possible, but finishing top 8, now their attentions have to be turning towards the amateur space and trying to recover from what was ultimately a disappointing top 8 finish for them, not getting any further. And it's not just Jensen as well, to credit the rest of Maryville. There's a deep infrastructure behind them. They've got Miko and Tej, who all work behind the scenes to, you know, further their prospects in any given way possible. There's Miko obviously working very intricately on the specifics of what the players are looking for, more micro and some really good laning interactions as well. Tej making sure that there's a lot of setup before the matches and making sure that they're ready for any potential level 1 plans as well. Something that comes through early game warding patterns also very much on that card. And it's set them up quite nicely here through this game, because you can see they've fallen a little bit down in the early stages, but they're ready to go back to these objectives. They know what they need to be doing and where they need to be at these appropriate times to prevent AOE GTC from continuing to snowball. A reminder, they were down about 3k gold and down 5-1 not 5-10 minutes ago, but they've since been able to stabilize. This mid game has looked really good from them, and that build from APA that I touched on, the Void Staff, just has been finished. So he's ready to get cut through Moose Hater, ready to deal with this front line that AOE are going to be trying to throw into the front.
I mean, infrastructure is such a big deal. Having these tools to try and get your players to be better, but it's not everything. We saw what happened in Spring CQ2. It was Taco Gaming and No Team. Teams that didn't have much of a backing making it here. You know, Ginger Turmeric, not one of those teams. They do have the backing of the AOE organization. But in comparison, it is something to really look at in a critical lens when you're comparing both the infrastructures of Maryville and Ginger Turmeric and how they function on the Rift.
And thus far, I think that they functioned fairly evenly, right? We are 22 minutes into the game, the gold separated by roughly 400. There's not a lot to separate our two teams. The turrets, even 3-3. The Drakes, as even as you can get at a 3-Drake game. It's 1-2 with AOE Ginger Turmeric with the most recent dragon in pocket. And that is likely also, Desperate, it's going to be our next point of contention. 55 seconds before the Ocean Drake spawns. Maryville now starting to make their tracks down into the bot side as Moose Hater overstepping potentially for a control ward.
But it's hard to burn down Moose Hater. He has built a lot of resistances. Getting that ultimate out is going to be pretty big. 40 seconds before the dragon spawns.
Probably gives this Drake over to Maryville, honestly. And if it doesn't, it means that the fight ensuing afterwards is a lot more difficult for the rest of AOE Ginger Turmeric. Now, that Malphite ult is ticking down quite quickly. There's an opportunity that they get it back in time for the fight afterwards. I don't think it'll be quite up in time for the Drake itself. And it's also worth remembering that in terms of Drake securing, if a Kalista has access to an objective, securing is very easy if you have good communication between yourself and your jungler.
That Rend, it can do more damage than the Smite. And if you just pair it with the Smite, well, it's a guaranteed objective going to be locked in. Maryville University setting up over here as they have Niles in the top lane, still continuing push. Teleport, channeled. Going to be started out from Moose Hater, setting up his Ginger Turmeric. Enchanted Crystal Arrow will land, but look at that handshake from Zyko, stalling this out just a little bit longer. Hostile takeover, however, does go wide. Dragon secured by Maryville University, and still unable to find the engage is Ginger Turmeric. They do have the Unstoppable Force back and available, but they don't want to fight here because there's nothing to fight over.
Crucial ward from Zyko. It's going to spot AGT on their beeline up toward this Baron. Looks like that's where they're going to be going to, and Maryville, they're going to have to try and respond right now. They don't have the route to the Baron just yet, but APA's got TP. They don't have any great flank TP wards. Could potentially go to the top lane where that wave is crashing. No vision on it, and this is going down quickly, Deseret.
This is the chaos right here. This is what Ginger Turmeric do. They make plays like this. Niles jumps in with the Mega Gnar ultimate. Still more to be found. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade thus far. Niles going to give his life on that engage, but secured by Iconic. Baron going over to Maryville and still fighting it out. Azog dancing left and right to deliver the damage into Deep Lord's face. APA will secure that one as Maryville, a big play, a big team fight win, will net them control of the Rift.
A flip that AGT went for and one that ultimately they roll poorly on. It is a 4-for-1 for Maryville. They steal the Baron as well. They get the fight, they get the objective. Captain Shrimps is being sneaky in that top side. Could maybe try and find a kill. But if he's been spotted, Zyko's going to check it here.
All right, here we go. Scout of the Week goes off onto Zyko. Zyko looking to find that handshake. Will land it right onto Captain Shrimps, who gets pulled into the grasp of APA. Taken down. This game has blown up, Rude Dude.
Zyko spares no prisoners. Flashing into a Syndra that's 4 levels ahead of you. I don't mind if I do. Thank you, he says, as he takes down the final member of AGT who dared to try and limp away. Now AGT down the barrel of a very, very scary shotgun. It's pointing at them with a 5.5k gold leader Baron and only one turret outside the base to take. 1 minute 50 still on this Baron buff, and they're going to go back to base, spend the entirety of that gold lead, get themselves to their tippy-toppiest amount of power, and then go back out onto the map and try and break open AGT.
And the pieces are falling so well for Maryville University, even with this Kalista, who in the late game does have that fall off. Doesn't matter. You're keeping this Kalista safe, and you already have that gold lead that's amounting to so much for Maryville University. and there's so little that Ginger Turmeric can really do about this to find their engage. They needed to play with a lot of vision. They needed to play with their pick, but Iconic played with it better with his Zac and the elastic slingshot angles.
And you talk about the falling off. The way I like to think about it, Deserix, is that you're running on a treadmill, and at the end of the treadmill is a cliff, essentially. That's why they fall off of a cliff. And all you're doing is just extending your stamina. The further ahead you are in this game, the longer it takes for you to fall off of that cliff, the longer it takes for you to become non-impactful. And Azog is a full level over his counterpart.
Here we go. Desperation attempt out of Turmeric. They'll go on to Niles. Niles forced to use the ultimate only onto Moose Hater. Now Maryville University backing off, but Iconic coming in with the elastic slingshot on the side. Forces Kill to Cyclone to try and disengage. Hostile takeover rings true. Will Net Deep Learn right to the grave, but Azog, bad position to be, goes Golden
Another
to change
engage.
where we are going. Another engage found by Iconic, sends Kill for the heals, and Maryville University don't even lose one. They don't even break a sweat.
And it speaks to the state of the game when Niles is dashing forward on 500 HP as Mininar to try and get an extra amount of damage. The turret falls, the inhibitor falls, and Maryville have been purely successful in their venture to break open the base. They take top tier 2 and tier 3 in conjunction with the inhibitor as well. This is going to time them perfectly to go back to base. Set up around this bot side, they're going to have complete prio in the top lane because of those super minions, and use all 5 members in the bot side to set up for this Ocean Soul game. 1 minute on that Drake spawning, and it will be the last stand for AGT, because if they don't get that, there is nothing they can do versus Maryville comp.
Okay, the first thing they've done for this last stand, tried to delay Iconic's recall. Not the most impressive thing. It's not going to be the most impactful thing. You know, he still should be able to get a reset onto this one as there's 45 seconds left. Actually, he's looking to stay out here. So Maryville University setting up over towards this bottom side, making sure they have priority hard established over here. They want to split Ginger Turmeric right now. Inhibitor down over on the top side, but Turmeric are going straight for the mid.
This is interesting. A potential base race on the cards. Niles has got Mega forming. He's about 75% away from this one, but we'll be able to stack it up. 3 people from AGT, or from Maryville, excuse me, have gone back to base. It's an objective bounty claimed, but this is always going to go Maryville's way. There's nobody here to stop this Maryville bot lane, and if Maryville can stop the backs on the mid lane, they can very well just end the game. It's worth mentioning, though, Musei gets back to base. It's likely going to be just the inhib, but this gives them Dragon for pretty much 3 if they don't get a good fight.
Moose Hater's walking forward. There could be a collapse right here from Turmeric if they're able to chase down Zyko and Azog, and that's exactly what Turmeric are going for right now. Kill, right place to be, Cyclone available, teleport going to be channeled. Moose Hater cannot close the distance in time. Enchanted Crystal Arrow on the mark, waiting for the Unstoppable before Cyclone going to be used. It's only on to Iconic, but look at the damage coming out from APA. A re-engage from Turmeric as they look for more, but Kill heads right out of it. Moose Hater still trying to stall out and slow down Azog, slow down this Callista, but she is too damn strong, man. Turmeric getting deleted from the rift. Captain Shrimps' life is forfeit. APA will take it. Legendary Heapy. Maryville take game number 1.
And in case that wasn't enough, the top lane falls as well. It's Keel trying his best to clear this one out, but this is going to be the game. Destructs 5 people up against 1 Wukong, no Cyclone. There is no chance left.
Niles, it's time for the KDA padding. Bring Kill right back in. No, Niles got
That's not padding. Wait
no
a second.
pad in there. He'll take another death. But at the end of the day, Maryville starting off this series hot. Very, very strong in the retort to the early game that we saw from Turmeric. Very, very controlled. Game number 1 going over to them.
Captain Shrimp's got 3 kills in the early exchange on that top side. He found 0 throughout the remainder of the match. Only the 3 assists went over, and it speaks to the colour of that game. AOE Ginger Turmeric had control of the early stages. They were really forcing aggression through the early game. But Maryville weathered the storm. They set themselves up for a comeback, and boy, did they execute on it. One misstep in that bot lane was all that it took for AGT to have turned the game back around and giving the victory over to Maryville.
And so tragic it was. The focus heavily from Turmeric towards that bottom lane. So close to taking Azog at multiple times, but Azog with the fancy feet continuously gets the outplays, and that hurts for Turmeric when you were catered towards taking down that Callista and Renata with this Ashe and Zyra pick. We'll see if they can find other answers to what Maryville are able to bring, but the desk is now ready. We're going to toss it over to them. Travi, take it away.